listening fill in the blanks.
Let's start.
Then Geraldo compared the brains of 20-day-old and 95-day-old ants, identifying any cells that were close to death. She saw no major differences with age, nor was there any difference in the location of the dying cells, showing that age didn't seem to affect specific brain functions. Ants and other insects have structures in their brains called mushroom bodies, which are important for processing information, learning and memory. She also wanted to see if aging affects the density of synaptic complexes within these structures, regions where neurons come together. Again, the answer was no. What was more, the old ants didn't experience any drop in the levels of either serotonin or dopamine, brain chemicals, whose decline often coincides with aging. In humans, for example, a decrease in serotonin has been linked to Alzheimer's disease.
Originally, Arctic contamination was largely blamed on chemical leaks, and these leaks were thought to be small and localized. The consensus now is that pollutants from around the world are being carried north by rivers, ocean currents, and atmospheric circulation. Due to extreme conditions in the Arctic, including reduced sunlight, extensive ice cover and cold temperatures, contaminants break down much more slowly than in warmer climates. Contaminants can also become highly concentrated due to their significantly lengthened lifespan in the Arctic.
To sum up, learning is affected by emotions of both the individual and significant others. Positive emotions facilitate the creative aspects of learning and negative emotions inhibit it. Fear, for example, can limit the development of curiosity, which is a strong force in scientific advance, because it motivates problem-solving behavior. In Bocart's 1991 review of emotion, the learning of very high IQ and highly achieving children, she found emotional forces in harness. They were not only curious, but often had a strong desire to control their environment, improve their learning efficiency and increase their own learning resources. If the subject in the experiment had previous exposure to the DS system, he or she was first asked to play his or her favorite game on the machine. This gave the researchers information about current level of gaming skill related to the complexity of the chosen one, allowing them to see the child playing a game with mechanics he or she was already familiar with. Across the 26 preschoolers, the Nintendo DS selections scope were very broad, including New Super Mario Bros., Sonic Rush, Nintendogs, and Tony Hawk's Proving Ground. The interview observed the child play, noting preferences for game mechanic and motor interactions with device as well as the complexity level each game mechanic was for the tested subject. The researchers asked all of the preschoolers to play with a specific game in consultation with our producers. Problems of spring runoff into coastal waters during the growth period of marine life are of critical concern. Spring algae blooms easily, absorbing the concentrated contaminants released by spring melting. These algae are in turn eaten by zooplankton and a wide variety of marine life. The accumulation of these contaminants increases with each step of the food chain, or web, and can potentially affect northerners who eat marine mammals, near the top of the food chain. Pollutants respect no borders. Transboundary pollution is the movement of contaminants across political borders, whether by air, rivers, or ocean currents.
Three kinds of information were collected after each interview. From any older siblings and the parents that were available, we gathered data about the buying decisions surrounding game systems in the household, the family's typical gameplay patterns, levels of parental moderation with regard to computer gaming, and the most favorite games played by family members. We could also understand the ideology of gaming in these homes because of these in-home interviews, what types of spaces were used for gameplay, how the system were installed, where the handheld play occurred in the house, as well as on-the-go play, and the number and type of games and game systems owned. The most important is, we gathered the game-playing information for every single kid.
It appears that experimental, situational,
and cultural factors are even more powerful in shaping wisdom than previously imagined, says Associate Professor Igor Grossman of the University of Waterloo in Ontario, Canada. Recent empirical findings from cognitive, developmental, social, and personality psychology cumulatively suggest that people's ability to reason wisely varies dramatically across experiential and situational contexts. Understanding the role of such contextual factors offers unique insights into understanding wisdom in daily life, as well as how it can be enhanced and taught.
The idea that the source was long-range was very difficult for many to support. Each winter, cold, dense air settles over the Arctic. In the darkness, the Arctic seems to become more and more polluted by a buildup of mid-latitude emissions from fossil fuel combustion, smelting and other industrial processes. By late winter, the Arctic is covered by a layer of this haze the size of the continent of Africa. When the spring light arrives in the Arctic, there is a smog-like haze, which makes the region, at times, looks like pollution over such cities as Los Angeles. After speaking with our producers, who have a keen interest in designing for the DS, we finally agreed on 3 key goals for our project. First, to understand the range of physical and cognitive abilities of preschoolers in the context of handheld system gameplay. Second, to understand how preschool gamers interact with the DS, specifically how they control the different forms of play and game mechanics offered by the games presently on the market for this platform. Third, to understand the expectation of preschoolers' parents concerning the handheld systems as well as the purchase and play context within which gameplay occurs.
Like, share, subscribe the channel, and press the bell icon for